You picked the right slow news day.
I need
to readjust a little bit.
All right, the governor did, actually.
Working.
Sorry, just
Okay,
to be able to put my notes
you're
down
perfect.
here.
You're perfect.
Sorry, I just want to get her a little bit of room too.
Okay. Put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I turn these a little bit? I don't want to knock them off while I'm...
Sorry.
No, it's fine. We need a bigger podium next time.
Or a bigger brother.
Oh, Abdul. Let's see. All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Just to start out, I just want to share House Democrats started out session with some solutions. And, we came to the table really ready to work together across the aisle for Hoosiers who are really struggling with high costs. And in particular, we're hearing from constituents and have been for many months about the cost of utility rates. And this session, we provided opportunities to really make a difference for Hoosiers. Our colleagues across the aisle started talking more about affordability, but talk is cheap, and we didn't make a lot of progress. I'll share we had 12 amendments that in different ways would have reduced utility costs for Hoosiers in the near term. Giving Hoosiers, for example, the same sales tax break on their utility bills as data centers receive. Protecting Hoosiers from private equity buying out utility companies, providing some safeguards there. Requiring public input before buying data centers, or building data centers, and prohibiting passing lobbying costs onto customers. And then, of course, capping annual increases in utility rates to make sure that we're not continuing to skyrocket and at least put some limits in place. And, as far as we know, Governor Braun did not talk with House Republicans or Senate Republicans about supporting some of those amendments that we had put forward. And, it seems kind of par for the course. We have a handout that includes a couple of issues that when Governor Braun was in the legislature, he voted for, and that was to do away with energy efficiency programs that would help reduce costs for Hoosiers, and also voting against or to end net metering, which is about providing lower cost energy independence for Hoosiers. And that was a real blow to building out more clean, independent, homegrown energy in our state. And so I also just wanted to highlight, I think I mentioned a couple of the amendments, and then those, actually I'll end it there and just open it up for questions. I'm sure you have a lot of questions.
Carey, question for you.
I'll start here and then here.
On the issue of affordability, obviously the governor has his agenda, you guys have your agenda, but because of the situation in red right now, the price of a barrel of oil shot up to $100 a barrel, which obviously increases costs for everyone. So how does Indiana sort of mitigate that, or can Indiana mitigate that?
Well, I think Hoosiers are concerned about this war of choice. I'm an Army mom. I'm concerned about this war of choice. From a cost perspective of Hoosiers, we're already, of course, seeing gas prices not just go up, but go up significantly in a very short amount of time. House Democrats have supported eliminating, for a period of time, the sales tax on gas, the gas tax, the significant Indiana state gas tax. That was voted down in the past by Republicans. We would certainly support that again in a time of crisis and need for Hoosier families.
So what's your take on AES
Yes.
canceling these town halls? Are you concerned this could lead to some more transparency issues?
Yeah, frankly, the proposed now sale to BlackRock is a real concern for me when it comes to transparency moving forward. Again, I mentioned earlier, House Democrats put forward an amendment to at least have a public process around allowing private equity to purchase investor-owned utilities, and that was shot down, I believe, on a party line vote. So there was an opportunity at this very moment, when I hear some concerns across the aisle, to have a voice, and Republicans shot down our opportunity to weigh in, and for the public to have a voice on that sale.
Should the governor either A, implement the state's price gouging law, or B, temporarily suspend the sales tax on gas while this conflict is going on?
Certainly, I think the latter is what we've supported in the past, and I would be very glad to support that now.
The IURC is doing this investigation into what's causing these high utility rates for the investor-owned utilities. If they find that it's about profit, should the state step in and limit how much profit utilities can make?
Well, here's the thing. I think, over the last several years, significant pieces of utility legislation that support the investor-owned utilities have passed with the Republican leadership, right? I think the only way, and that really ties the hands of the IURC. And so until we pull back from those policies that are in place now, those Republican-passed policies that grant really huge safe profit margins to the utilities, we're not going to be able to change that. IURC's hands are tied. The governor's hands are tied. So he can talk about the IURC making big change for Hoosier ratepayers, but I don't see how they can make a change until they undo their own Republican supermajority policies.
Carey, on the issue of putting limits on investor-owned utilities and what can be bought and purchased, AES is not just AES. Again, it's owned by a bigger AES company that's being purchased by BlackRock. So my question is, how do you limit the sale or transfer of the local company that's owned by a parent company that isn't necessarily based here in Indiana?
I think what we had proposed during session was a process to have an IURC public process before that sale could transpire. So that would give Hoosiers, via the IURC and legislators weighing in, the ability to, come up with a strategy to block those sales if they weren't in the best interest of Hoosier ratepayers. That didn't happen because of the Republicans voting it down. So I'm not sure what our options are now, if there are any. Certainly Democrats would support any way to at least slow the process here. I think history tells us from sales of utilities in recent years that to private equity that it does not benefit ratepayers, that costs do go up, that services may go down. So I'm very concerned about this sale, very concerned.
Representative Hamilton, do you feel that Housing Rule Act 1002 that has kind of those provisions in there that they're going to have to kind of, prove like their services are working before they can raise, any kind of prices or anything? Do you feel like that is enough accountability? And then in the second portion, the governor says they're going to be watching data centers like a hawk to make sure that they are, producing the amount of energy that they're supposed to. Do you feel like that is good enough of a promise, or do you think there should have been legislation?
I don't believe in promises. I believe in laws. So unless we undo TDSIC and construction work in progress, two of the big policies that have just laid into state law the ability of utilities to recapture investments that 1002 does not undo, I don't see how we're going to see big reduction in rates at this time.
How confident are you that this IURC could reverse some of these?
I'm sorry.
How confident are you that this IURC inquiry will reverse some of the policies that you mentioned that this could build off of AGA 1002 next session?
If the IURC is able to convince the Republicans in this building to undo policies they've passed in recent years, then it will be a worthwhile process. But that's what they need to do. That's what we've been asking them to do. Again, I think that's really the only way to see real positive impact for ratepayers.
Representative Hamilton, Indiana law currently requires data centers to pay for 80% of their costs. Governor Braun said he expects them to pay 100% or more. What kind of tools does the state have to enforce that?
Again, if it's not a law, I don't know what the governor is going to be able to do. Democrats would absolutely support 100% coverage of data center construction by data centers. We, in fact, pushed for that last year and failed. So, promises are, they're worth not a lot, right? In this building, we need to pass laws to protect Hoosiers and ratepayers.
Expect to be an issue in the primary general election?
I'm sorry?
You expect it to be an issue?
Oh, do I expect it to be an issue?
Yeah.
I do expect it to be an issue in the election because, this is really hurting our families, right? Hoosiers across the state are struggling with a variety of costs, whether it's not being able to afford childcare or housing, groceries are getting more expensive, now gas is getting more expensive. Utilities we know are off the charts. And again, 1002 has no near-term promises of relief, unlike the amendments we put forward. I'm really concerned that this is going to, continue to hamper the ability of Hoosier families to thrive.
Given the costs of utilities and how that's been in the spotlight. When it comes to your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, do you think they'd be interested in bumping that number up from 80% of the generation cost to 100%? Is that something that they're interested in pursuing next session?
Well, House Democrats would love to work across the aisle to see that happen, for sure. I can't speak for my colleagues across the aisle. I hope they would be.
The amendment you mentioned that would offer a public process for utility sales, was that an amendment offered on 1002?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I can get you that information.
I'm sure I can find it.
Anything else? Do you see how it got darker earlier? It was like foreshadowing the conversation. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Is anyone not get a handout that needs one?
Anyone else? Thanks. Oh.